all the stars are shining bright. Yeah, we should stay up so that we can look at them all night. Just keep holding me, don't let me go. Everything's so magical. All I need is you tonight. If I shut my eyes, keeping them closed, all the senses explodes. You and me under the sky. Let's stay up all night. Give our hearts a new beginning. When we fell in love, every second, every minute, we were high on life. Didn't waste our time, didn't sleep as much as now. Let's stay up all
Got a white and black Cirrus up high. Continue up the tracks, runway 27. Rock your wings and knowledge for that white and black Cirrus. Nice job on the rock for the white and black Cirrus. Got a black and gold Skyhawk. Continue up the tracks for runway 27. Rock your wings to acknowledge. Got a white and yellow Cessna, half mile southwest Fisk. Turn right for the east-west road. White and yellow Cessna. Turn right now for the east-west road. Got a Mooney up high. Going up the tracks for runway 27. Start to slow it up, Mooney. Rock your wings to acknowledge. Got a white and red Skyhawk, half mile southwest of Fisk. Turn right, join the east-west road for runway 18 right. Cessna, white and red Cessna. So for my white and yellow Cessna, my purple and white Cessna, my white and red Cessna, it's 1,800 feet to the downwind. Power's 126.6. For the three of you, I sent up the tracks for that, Mooney. Get the speed back, then
for those who are new to the stream, and there are some new ones tonight because this is the Oshkosh going over the preview, going over the notice. This is the learning session on the Oshkosh approach, the Fisk approach. And it's a famous thing, you guys, for those who don't know, in the aviation world, those of us who are pilots, it's been on our bucket list since we got our license. We all thought that we would do that approach someday. I did mine many years ago. With 3 other pilots, we rented a 172 and did the Fisk approach. Now it has become even more popular. Something like 10,000 pilots will ascend on this field for 10 days. Oh my gosh. So they had to have some special sequencing going on, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So we're going through the notice that comes from PilotEdge for the SimVenture. We'll talk about what all of that is in a minute. And at the end of the month is the real AirVenture, where the real pilots fly into the same event. And of course, all the chaos that involves all of that. So we'll get a taste of that. Oops, my mic. We'll get a taste of that here in the sim. And this is what we're covering tonight is exclusively for MSFS, for Microsoft Flight Simulator. This same procedure can be done with X-Plane, FSX, and Prepare 3D. They do make scenery. PilotEdge made scenery for all 4 sims. Predominantly, MSFS and X-Plane are the planes that will fly in to this event starting this Thursday. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's at 6 p.m. my time. I think it's 2100 Zulu. It opens up the air traffic controllers. Now, we can practice anytime we want, and that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to learn what it's all about so we understand it, and then we're going to fly it. And we might have some try the Warbird approach. We might have some try the helicopter approach, but I'm going to be certainly doing the Fisk approach from the far end, and we'll talk about what that is. So we're going to go over it. Now, there was a session recently by the Flight Simulator Association and PilotEdge talking about when it went through the whole document. Now, we're not going through the whole document tonight. That's a long drawn out thing. There is a very detailed, long drawn out video they recorded, a VOD they recorded of that event, for those of us who couldn't attend it in live. And that's a really informative thing to go and watch too. And I'll give you all these resources in a minute. For those of you who are not on PilotEdge or don't intend to or can't or whatever the reason, you can still use the default scenery for Oshkosh, KOSH, or you can use the Osh dots, the ones that we've been using for our landing challenge. Now, we're not doing the landing challenge this month. We normally would by now, but we did it back in January and we did it a couple of times last year, but I ran out of time this year. But we are going to cover the event. We are going to live fly it on Thursday night with live ATC with PilotEdge. So tonight we cover some practices and some approaches, and we actually go fly, and I'm inviting all of you to come in multiplayer. On Thursday, I can only be, when I'm on the PilotEdge network, I can only be with other PilotEdge subscribers. And so then it'll be serious. It'll be real radio communications. And so tonight's more casual and there's no ATC, so we'll be okay tonight. So come and join us, you guys. Let's see if I typed in scenery. No, Osh dots.
Osh dots, yeah.
Osh
I just put a link in
dots.
if anybody wants to see the SimVenture video that PilotEdge did on YouTube. So there's a link for it there. It's an hour and a half long.
Yeah, it's lengthy, but it's detailed and it's needed. Right?
Oh yeah,
and a lot of us need that. We're going to go through this a similar thing, you guys. We're going to just do it more briefly. We're going to touch on what you need to know, and then we're going to try a couple of the approaches. And then you get a feel for what it's all about, you guys. Some of you may end up going and getting the free PilotEdge trial, the free trial, and then actually attending. It's only on this Thursday, Friday, Saturday for us as simulator pilots, and it's on at the end of the month for the real pilots who fly in, the bigger event, the event that's been going for many years now. So they just started in 2020. They just started this SimVenture. In other words, the equivalent for the 4 simulators. At the time, there was only the 3 simulators. July of 2020, before MSFS was released, they had 3 simulators, X-Plane, Prepare 3D, FSX. And I flew this approach in 2020 using X-Plane. That was my first taste of it in the simulator with live ATC with PilotEdge. So that's pretty, and I'm a PilotEdge subscriber, as many of you know already. So let's go check it out and see what it's all about, you guys. And what we'll do is we'll move over to our left screen here. Let me call it, I call it my left screen, but let's go here to my teaching screen. And let's jump into this presentation first. So we'll start out by just showing you what it's all about. And then from there, we'll go to some live approaches and some Q&A on it. So here is actually the flight plan. Actually, I did on my reboot, my machine messed up which screens I should be on right now, so I'm gonna have to switch this back. But this is my sim ready to go with an actual flight plan. You can have that flight plan, you guys, if you type in flight plan, !flight plan, and you can have the same flight plan. This is the whole approach all the way back if they really get congested. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about what that means. In the past, we did the landing challenge, and we just had to do Green Lake and Ripon and go from Ripon up to Fisk, and then get allocated up into Oshkosh. But now it comes further back, and as they get busier and busier, they'll take us further back for our injection point. So we have to understand that anyway, and I'm going to fly that tonight while we're here, and go on into Osh from there. At the end, on the credits, you guys, instead of our familiar expected song, Where Do We Go From Here, I've got a special song that I have selected for the credits, and the credits will be pictures of Oshkosh. Now let me mention about the pictures of Oshkosh. They are going to be snapshots I've taken of the PilotEdge scenery. Now I want to mention this, you guys, because it's important that I say this out loud. It's written a couple of times too. The PilotEdge scenery is only available to the PilotEdge subscribers, even if you don't fly the event. If you're a subscriber, you get to download the scenery, even if you're a trial subscriber. But you can't copy it to someone else. You can't give it away, and I can't give you a link here. Because they went to a lot of work and a lot of expense and a lot of people to make this scenery for this event. It's a very serious and important event, and they're trying to mimic as close as possible the real thing, which will happen at the end of the month. And for all that work and all that effort and all of that extra time and volunteer time, we can't just grab their scenery and go give it away to everybody, all right? And so understand that, but just keep in mind also that you could easily go get a free trial without any cost or obligation and get the scenery. Just don't copy it to other people.
The PilotEdge trial is 5 hours online or 2 weeks, whichever comes first.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? Or 2 weeks, whichever comes first. Now, in the past, we've done this as a competition where we actually have to land on the dot. There are dots on the runway. They actually paint them. Something like 60 gallons worth of paint every year to do this. And these dots, as you can see in the picture here, the plane landing, these dots are something like 50 feet wide. But we're supposed to land on them, and believe it or not, it's a hard thing to do. So we've done this in the past. We just didn't have time this time, and we already did it in January, landing on the dots. Now, in the real Oshkosh, they designate a dot for you because there's so many planes in the air. They got special permission that 10 days to put more than one airplane on final, more than one airplane touching down. but you've got to go to your designated dot, and that keeps you spread out. All right, we're going to talk about that. It's all in the notice, and let's go see what that's all about, you guys. Every pilot wants to attend Oshkosh and do the famous Fisk Approach. What's interesting is that you don't have to talk on the radio. A lot of you will like this. You don't have to talk on the radio. You do not acknowledge anything. You do not request takeoff. You do no talking unless you're asked to. And that reduces the chatter. There's so many planes here. You're a half a mile apart, a string for miles. You can't be waiting for a response from an airplane because there's the next airplane that you have to talk to. So they don't want to hear you at all. Now, when they first acknowledge you, they'll ask you to rock your wings. You rock your wings, that's your reply. They know it's you, they'll give you your direction, off you go. And same with as you come into land, they'll give you, and we'll talk about those two areas where the controller of each area will give you your instructions on where to go from there. Rock your wings again. That's your reply. No need to talk on the radio unless they ask you to. Another example of having to talk on the radio is if you had to do a go around. All right, that could happen. You should be experienced enough. You should have run this practice many times, but in real life, it happens. You may have to do a go around. You might be too close to the guy in front of you who stopped too short or stopped on the wrong dot. You can't just land on top of them. You got to go around. So that causes grief to the controllers because everything is in sequence, and we got lots of planes with behind each other in sequence. And if one person messes this up, some people will have to go around. And that kind of messes up the whole circuit. So, we want to talk about that anyway and get to it, but we'll find out how this goes. There's 3 holding patterns, which they could send you anytime. If it gets too congested and they're overwhelmed, they'll just send you off on a holding pattern, and then you come back in again. And that can happen very easily. So it's very busy, and it's one of those things every pilot is challenged to do, and so that is cool. Jeff says he's flown the Fisk Approach more than 200 times on MS Flight Sims over the years, and once in real life.
Once in real life.
Yeah, that's the same thing with me. Now, actually, when we were there was 4 of us pilots. We rented a Cessna, and away we went. And each of us did the approach. And they didn't split it up for us. They didn't give us a specific runway because we asked for it, so we did whatever it was. But, it was, so we actually did do 4 approaches and 4 takeoffs properly out of the area. And then there was so many things to do there. We just stayed and did a bunch of stuff there, and we camped in tents overnight. So Oshkosh is the airport code. It's in Whitman Field, Wisconsin, up there on the west side of Lake Michigan. And we'll go take a look at a couple of maps here I've got made for you guys. I've taken some of this material also right out of the PilotEdge Notice. And I've also taken some material from the scenery, actually going into the simulator and taking pictures of the scenery. So we certainly have to give credit to PilotEdge and EAA for that. But take a look at this picture. It's a real picture from the event, and you can see that there are literally thousands of planes, you guys, literally. I would say there could easily be 10,000 planes, although there are 10,000 pilots that will come in here. You never know how many could be here, and many of them will stay and camp under the wing, like I have. I was in a high wing Cessna, so it was easy enough to camp under the wing with a tent, but you can certainly put your tent beside your low wing, and that's what you see happening here. This is a real picture from the actual event, and it's like that. Now, PilotEdge has made scenery that looks similar with all these airplanes sitting on the grass. It's like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
There's a lot more airplanes in this year's than there was in last year's.
Yeah, and it looks great. I like how it looks. I'll give you guys an idea of what it's like. So we created this thing in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I don't even know how many times we've done it now, probably 4 times. And since Microsoft Flight Simulator was out, and we discovered this scenery on Flight SimTO called Osh dots. And someone ingeniously put the dots back on the runway as an add-on scenery from FlightSim.to. You can get that. That's what you'll get if you type in Osh dots right now. And that scenery is what we used for our landing challenge because it had the dots on the runway. All right. And so that you can certainly use if you don't have a PilotEdge subscription and you don't have all this beautiful scenery that PilotEdge made, and you can still practice the approaches. Your Fisk is still there. The GPS coordinates are still there, which we'll talk about this year. That we're doing GPS coordinates also. But anyway, so SimVenture event for flight simulators happens 14th to the 17th. That's in 2 days. It starts we're going to be jumping in live on ATC. At least I am. Maybe Andrew will be. I don't know if any others will come and join me, but we'll be doing the approach live on stream Thursday evening. So come back Thursday, same time as today. And probably, I think they open at 6, the air traffic controllers. I'll be flying it shortly after that. You know, we start our stream at 5, so, and we'll get rolling on it right away. All right, so I've made a note here of all the things open to all PilotEdge subscribers, including free trials, open to all 4 flight simulators. A special scenery was made for each one of them. And we need to be able to use a button for your mic to speak, just like in real planes. You may be asked to speak. You should be able to speak. On the PilotEdge network, you have to test your microphone and use your microphone anyway. You can still fly it for other things in their coverage area, but here they've brought the controllers over to Wisconsin for this special event. But your mic should still be tested ahead of time no matter where you start from for working with the PilotEdge network and practicing ATC when you're not coming to Kosh. I use the button right on my yoke on my left hand index finger. There's a white button on my alpha yoke. Perfect. It's exactly where I'd have a mic button on most yokes I fly in real life. So it's just natural for me to use my index finger on my left hand, which is always on the yoke, and I can cue the mic anytime from there. And make sure you've got, you know, your headset mic is the best one to use for that. There is a special Seaplane Base and a Warbird's arrival for this event. Now that's the Seaplane Base was there last year, if I remember looking at the scenery. This year they've got details on how to approach the Seaplane Base and what not to do and what to do. They also have a Warbird's arrival now and here in the sim. Even though they had it in real life last year, they have it in the sim this year, so that's cool too. And they've got changing runways. Last year they only had 36 and 27. That was it, no matter what. I mean, we can control the winds in our sim. This year they could change those depending on live weather, so that's actually pretty cool, even though we are selecting clear skies here in the sim. Now I just want to mention about PilotEdge, you guys. I did check. I sent this whole slide deck over to PilotEdge and let them see what we're going to be doing tonight, let them know what's going on, and they approve. They think this is a good thing that I'm doing this, and they've known that I've always encouraged people to start using live real ATC controllers. These are paid professional ATC controllers for this event. I mean, they are all the time when you use PilotEdge, even if it's not Oshkosh. But for this event, PilotEdge have actually tapped on the national, whatever that society is of air traffic controllers, I forget the acronym, and pulled them in for this event. You're talking to controllers who would normally control Oshkosh, normally control real traffic, and you're going to be talking to the same people you would talk to if you were flying a real plane. And they'll be doing the same things and talking as fast as they do sometimes. And so you have to pay attention. And it's going to be as real as it gets, that's for sure, right? All right, EAA. Yeah, Andrew's putting in the EAA there, the AirVenture. This is the real thing. Experimental Aircraft Association. Their headquarters is right there on Pioneer Airstrip. I'll show you where that is in a map in a minute here. But PilotEdge is the one that made the scenery. They're a good group of people, and we'll do a credit at the end. PilotEdge is the one that are providing all the live ATC for this as they are in the real event. So it's pretty cool. So you guys here, I want to point out a few things here. Now, anybody who's watching this session tonight can have this slide deck. All right. The slide deck is fine to have. I'm not publishing it. I'm not making money on it. So yeah, I can let you guys have it if you wish. It's a PDF. It does have some of their images of their scenery in there, but that's fine. The copyright notices are there, you guys. Everything's cool. I made sure I'm legal on every aspect. Here's a Google map that says Google down here. There's the credit. On the stream, you got to make sure everything's got the credit, right? Here I've got the 9 major points that you need to know about. From the most important, of course, number 1 is Oshkosh itself. I want to give you a view of where we really are. Now, a lot of you have heard of the Green Bay Packers. A lot of you have also heard about Green Bay because we did a group flight there with Ace of Spades, who lives in the area. Ace of Spades can drive down to Oshkosh every year because it's just down the road here. So in relation to that, Green Bay is up here. Lake Michigan's over here, number 9. So that gives you a bearing of where we are, west of Lake Michigan. Over here at Lake Winnebago, which is actually where the Seaplane Base is, and Oshkosh is nestled right in there. Now, is my cursor showing up there? Yep. And so 1 is Oshkosh, number 2, Lake Winnebago, number 3 is the Fisk Approach. There are controllers sitting there, even in the scenery. They have controllers sitting there with a trailer and a microphone, watching the planes and directing you to the proper runways or to proper controllers, all right? That's the important part right there. That's the actual town of Fisk. It's actually a GPS coordinate, Fisk. and it's also where the controllers are. This is the most important part, because if you miss that or mess it up, you're not getting to Oshkosh. It's not going to happen. And if you just go and say, I don't care, I'm going to fly there anyway, they'll just take you off the network, you guys. So, don't be doing anything abnormal, because you'll just be out of the network. All right, so now here, number 4 is Ripon. Now, this is an important part, because Ripon, we'll see in the notice, Ripon is a point where we're following to this town, and now we follow the railroad tracks all the way to Fisk. So Ripon is an important call-up point. You're not going to call up, but it's an important VFR checkpoint, and then we all fall into line from there. All the way back, now there are a few other checkpoints we're going to do all the way back to Highway 39 there, but Green Lake, Puckaway Lake, and way down here, number 7 is important, Fond du Lac. Fond du Lac Airport is actually the backup airport in case Oshkosh is under the weather. I'm serious, you guys, if we can't approach visually, we can't do it. All right, and so 1 year, I think it was 2020, maybe it was 2019. 1 year it was so muddy and so wet, they had to cancel all incoming flights. And guess what? All the surrounding airports got filled. Fond du Lac was one of them, of course. Now they've got some backup tents here. They've got some backup plans. If the weather's bad, they can still entertain. They still have some sessions. They still got enough room to put everybody on the grass. Some people camp down here. When I flew in here for real, I came into Fond du Lac for the night. We stayed in a tent for the night, and we flew the next morning, and that's what a lot of people are doing. This is probably one of the most important airports in the area, but there's lots of municipal airports. I'm going to start way over here somewhere. Anyway, that gives you an idea on Google Maps. Let's go take a look at this in our world map, and if you touch these call-up points, because I have the scenery installed, these point of interest, POIs, are here now. All the way over to number 8 is where I'm going to be starting, way over here. And there's Fond du Lac. There is actually the island we were just talking about. There's Warbird Island, where you do the call-up. Here's the Seaplane Base right here, where all the seaplanes would come in. There's a special procedure for that. We're going to go look at that in a minute. And the normal Fisk approach all the way along. They've extended it because it got busier and busier. Now, during COVID, of course, they had to shut it down in 2020. I think in 2021, they did have a limited, no indoor seminars. They it was still the attendance list wasn't very long, but now they've opened it up wide, and you'll see a huge influx.
Last year was kind of an air show.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense, right?
Because with a lot of the teaching stuff that they normally do too. But
I put in number 9 here because the POI shows number 9, the microwave tower. I'll give you a picture of that later. That's an important VFR check that you do along the way, that you are on Fisk Avenue. Some people mistake other streets here for Fisk Avenue, and they're not on the right approach. So we'll go see what that is. We're looking away from runway 36 into the exhibitors area. All right, the runway's behind me from the view I'm looking at right now. And this is right out of the scenery that PilotEdge gave us. And this is there in real life too. There is this type of monument sitting there because this is the headquarters for the Experimental Aircraft Association. This is where they live, right? Their big building. We'll show you that building in a minute. So I wanted to put together a couple things here, you guys. Here's a picture I took a long time ago from when we were preparing to do our landing challenge. I wanted to just show you guys, give you an idea of what Oshkosh looks like. In this picture, you'll see that the main area is the exhibitors display here that I was just talking about. That main gate that you saw going in towards the displays is right around here from the airport, looking into the displays. The one I just showed you back here, this one here, looking into that first hangar there, looking in that way, is coming from runway 36 looking in. All right, and so from runway 36 looking into the exhibitors. All right, and so this is where you'll see, now this picture doesn't have the PilotEdge scenery, but you'll see a ton of airplanes here and all kinds of gorgeous airplanes, a million tents, it seems, tons of people walking around. This is the main exhibitor area right here. Now, of all of that, the part that's really surprising is the actual terminal for the place. Terminal over here, the Whitman Regional Terminal for Oshkosh is actually over here. The passenger terminal, the normal flight terminal is over here. All right, this black building over here, way over this part here, facing runway 27-9. All right, that's where it is. That's actually interesting. This is the military section over here. I haven't labeled everything, but I just want to point out what's going on here. We are only using 27 and 9 for some approaches, and and over here are 36 and 18 for some approaches. And 36, they take this taxiway and they turn it into 36 right, and they leave this one as 36 left just for this event. So you actually can pull a Harrison Ford and they might direct you to land on 36 right. 36 right is actually a taxiway. Obviously the smaller planes can land there because it's only about 50 feet wide. All right, and that's actually pretty cool. I mentioned up here the Seaplane Base is over there. I'm not showing it on this map, but it is on the water, not far down. And then Lake Winnebago. Now you don't actually, when you're coming into 27 for the dot landings, you don't go out into the water. That's pretty wild. Whereas you might on a normal landing, when you're going to hit the threshold of 27 here, you would go out in the water to do your circuit and come in, or a straight in approach over the water. But here we don't go over the water. We cut it short for the base. We come in and land on whatever dot they've given us. And they might even have 3 or 4 coming in the same time and landing. Wow. So once you land, you keep moving, you get off on the grass, you follow the flagman, you get going. No stopping.
If you're doing 2.7 with the Warbird approach, Warbird turboprop approach, you actually come in off the lake straight into 2.7.
Right. The Warbirds do. That's why we're not supposed to at all. But they would actually sequence that in properly, so there won't be any clash in there. The Warbirds have to follow the same tower frequency.
The Warbirds
as the 27.
actually talk to the tower.
Yep. And the tower would know it's the same tower that's going to sequence you into 27. So yeah, that's no problem there. They've got that figured out. It's really good. I want to point out a couple other things. One thing right here that I haven't labeled right here is the actual Stoll landing strip. This piece of grass right here. In this PilotEdge scenery, they actually have the stands and they have the markings on the grass. It's actually cool. And you can go in here and practice Stoll landing and takeoffs right here.
There's actually a sign alongside the taxiway coming back down to 3.6 that says that's actually marked ultralights, because that's what that little runway is normally. It's the ultralight airfield.
Right, and I think the ultralights are all right here.
Yeah.
But that makes sense because they're right here nearby, right? That's really cool too, you guys. Now we did a session on a Tuesday evening, a lesson on tail draggers. And we actually flew out of Pioneer Airport, skipped over this stuff here and landed here on this grass strip. And then we took off and we did a left-hand circuit all the way back around, and we came back to Pioneer Airport and landed on that grass strip. And it gave us great practice with tail draggers. We did that one session. And we used this airport because it had 2 grass strips within a short distance and a nice long downwind in between them. So this is speaking of Pioneer Airport, this is important here too. This is the EAA headquarters right here. This is a big, huge building here, bigger than this scenery. This is the Oshkosh scenery, but now PilotEdge has built that up to look exactly like what's there. And it's huge, you guys. This is their headquarters for Experimental Aircraft Association. I'll show you a picture of the helicopter approach, because helicopters are allowed now here in the sim for Oshkosh, and we'll be coming in from this highway area from the mall over here. And we'll just show you what that sequence looks like if you want to come in with helicopters.
Helicopters in the sim for SimVenture land at Pioneer.
Yeah, and they stay there. All right, so let's get into it. We used to call it the NOTAM, you guys. Now the new word for it is notice. It's just a notice. And, notice is a verb too, so it's hard to, it must have been hard for them to try and figure out what to call it now. All of the alert notices that we got in the past, all pilots look for NOTAMs before every flight. So we check ATIS, we check weather, we check METARs, and then we also check NOTAMs. Always. There could be a runway that's closed. There could be lots of birds in the area, so they're giving you a caution. There could be lights that are out. There could be the automatic airport lights won't click anymore. There could be anything. ILS is down. Whatever could happen at an airport or in the surrounding area, there'll be a NOTAM on it. There could be parachuters in the area where you're going. So you always check NOTAMs. I'm going to keep saying it. I've been saying NOTAMs for 25 years. I'm going to have a hard time saying notices, because notices don't sound so formal and they don't sound so aeronautical. It's just because of us, the conditioning we've had all these years as real pilots. So it'll slip for me too, you guys. I'll be calling them NOTAMs once in a while. Right now, there'll be a synonymous word until I can finally say notice all the time, all right? So if I make that slip, then just hang in there. So we have the Fisk Approach. We have everything there. This is a document put out by PilotEdge for us who are subscribers who are coming to the event. And so keep in mind that it has no FAA or no real world of aviation affiliation. You can't use this for the real approach, even though it mimics it as close as possible to real. There are some changes in there. and we're going to go and look at it. Now, we're not going to go through page by page by page like they did from the Flight Sim Association video that Andrew gave you a link for earlier. That's a longer drawn out one. You have to go through it page by page and understand it. But every single pilot doing this in real life would look at that NOTAM notice every single page before you ever go. This is life and death. This is important. This has got to be safe. And if you're not following the rules, you're out of there. The controllers will kick you out. And in real life, if a controller says, turn around and go back where you came from, then you have to comply. All right, so take a look in here. We open the notice and get a feel for the Fisk approach, the procedures, the frequencies, and I want to also give you the GPS coordinates to do the normal flight in. All right, just the top 6 GPS names that you might want to use. All right. I'm going to give you a summary, you guys. Summary of frequencies, that's important. A summary of fixes, and maybe some airport names. I'll give you some summaries of that in this session. So hang in there, and then we'll do a live run of these areas, all right? All right, so we'll open the pages. So what are we after? Frequencies. We want to know ATIS, the Fisk approach frequency, each tower frequency, the Seaplane Base, that procedure and frequency, and then the arrival and departure route. The 3 main ones are the Fisk, which is the majority of flyers, the Warbird section, and the Seaplane. All right, now I don't know if we'll have time to show you all of them, but Andrew said he'll do Warbird, I'll do the Fisk, and maybe Dale will jump in, and I don't know if Dale's here yet, but Dale might jump in and do the helicopter approach. So let me mention that. I just threw this in the last minute. This is the helicopter approach, you guys. I mentioned about the EA Museum. Now this is right out of PilotEdge scenery, which now they've got the big, huge building there. Look at that gorgeous thing. There is a blue roof mall. Go around this building and then head out toward the mall and out that way. And that avoids any conflict with incoming helicopters, which are here. And the incoming helicopters will be coming in this way. I think they're at 1300. And if you think about it, you guys, we are flying 1800 over to this gravel pit over here. The gravel pit over here is our call-up point, our point where we'll rock our wings on the downwind for 27. So we've got a lot of traffic half mile apart coming over top at 1800 right here. We got helicopters coming into here at 1300. We got a 500-foot separation. You see why it has to be important? You got to be at the, you can't go higher than that. And so they'll come in and they'll land here and that's it. And when they take off, they go here. That's it. You're not allowed anything else south of this highway. All right. And that's important. So, we can come in by helicopter if we happen to have one, I think I'll take the helicopter today. Yeah, right. Okay, let's go through a few of the pages, you guys, and let's see what's happening. This picture down here on the left, right over my left shoulder, this picture here is actually out of the PilotEdge scenery. This is the Fisk Approach temporary lookout point where they will tell you to rock your wings. They will identify you coming up the Fisk Approach. This is where they are talking to you to tell you to rock your wings and send you off to the proper place. And this is what they give us. Now you're seeing what they give us. And I say us meaning all of us who are PilotEdge subscribers. This is what we're given. I wonder maybe I should go full screen. Just take a little while to go through it. Now, there's all kinds of details here that I'm not going to talk about tonight. They went into it in great detail. And a lot of us know about the radio part. We actually have to test our radios using COM1 and COM2 before we even depart on the real ATC. This is what I'll do Thursday evening. I'll show you that because we'll have time before they go live. I'll show you how to test the radio, make sure it's working, and before you even depart. And then we're going to have our frequencies ready because we got to know the ATIS frequency, we got to know Fisk approach frequency, we got to know which control tower they send us to, we got to dial that in or have it ready to do a flip-flop, right? So all of that, the radio stuff is important. I'm going to go through that Thursday in more detail. Tonight we're just going and taking a look at how this works. They've got every detail you can think of here. I'm just going to show you a couple of these things. They give you a difference between the real world AirVenture at the end of the month and this one right now starting on Thursday, right? And we're all using 2.9 or 9.2, which makes life easier. VFR only, no IFR, although in real life they do allow IFR. And then during the published event times, we can land depart as anytime we want. We could do this like 20 times in a row and get real good at it, right? And in PilotEdge, as with all flights, we have to file a PilotEdge flight plan before we start. This is for every single flight we do in PilotEdge. We file a flight plan. Yes, VFR, IFR, whatever else we're doing in PilotEdge. Here, we're not doing IFR, but we still got to file a flight plan. And that's easy enough. In PilotEdge, there's a link for that. You just go to the flight plan page, put in what your intention is, where you're starting from, where you're heading to, and file your flight plan, and then away you go. Actually works. And I'll show you all of that. It's going to happen on Thursday, you guys. I'll show you how that works. All right. So, all right. So they go into great detail here. You guys can read this if you join PilotEdge and you go get this notice. If you go get this notice, then you can read all of this stuff. You can read all of the pages, of course. What they're showing you here, and I'm just going to go briefly through it, you guys, so it doesn't become a long, drawn-out thing. There's enough information here that could last for hours. But here you can see from Ripon up to Fisk, and then from Fisk it branches. You can't see my cursor here. It turns into a something else here. Okay, so up here it branches into two different, maybe there's a better map than that. It branches into the Fisk Approach or to the railroad track transition, one or the other. So Fisk is going to give you one or the other, or tell you to hold. Now there's another lake right here. They're going to tell you to hold on there, or they'll send you over to Rush Lake. I'll have to look at the holding instructions again. They might send you on a hold, a VFR hold, a counterclockwise around the lake until you can join back in. So, you know, you never know. They might be so congested that we have to do that, right? Yeah. I only said auctioneer because you knew how to respond. Yeah. Jeff, you're getting to know me too well. It's like bid on it, sold. So, you know, in here, all altitudes in this notice are MSL. Ooh, they give us a summary here of some of the waypoints. I give a summary screen afterwards of some of these waypoints, you guys. So we'll talk about that as we go along. You can actually set this as a flight plan, which I have provided for you as exclamation point flight plan, and you can just follow the GPS up to Fisk. Now, my flight plan stops at Fisk Approach. That's not an airport, because at Fisk Approach, they're giving you one or the other, and you're going to fly it manually.
Yeah.
I got to fly it manually.
You don't know which way you're going until you get there.
I know, and then you got to fly it manually.
Yep.
Anybody choking on that? 1,890 knots. Let's do it. Okay, so let's go on. All right, so they got lots of information in here, and you can read it all. I'm not going to read it to you. Okay? Nobody likes anybody to read the book. All right, so scenery's been updated since last year. No kidding. Hey, Andrew, isn't it better? Oh, my gosh. I was just taking the drone cam around as if I'm walking through the exhibits. Holy moly, man. Pretty cool. Set your Sims weather to clear skies.
There's a lot more flagmen, too.
Yeah, and you know what? The flagmen that are in the sim right now are static. They're there right now. But during the actual event, there'll be some dynamic flagmen telling us which way to go. Holy smokes, is that cool or what? So once ATC goes live at 6 p.m. Thursday, my time, Eastern time, then the flagmen come out too, the dynamic flagmen. Makes sense. They're sitting in the trailer waiting to work, but you know, they need to rest before the work, and they got to have a coffee before they get out there. Test your SPS with the SimVenture 2020 scenery ahead of time. Keeping in mind your FPS will likely take a slight hit during the event due to all the traffic around you. You guys, you got to test it. If you've had no trouble with our group flights, you guys, you should have no trouble here. We install a lot of software, a lot of scenery, and we have 30, 40, 50, 60 of us in flight at the same time. Although you probably only see 50, I think, at a time. They also mentioned in here in our sim, I'm only looking at the MSFS 2020 stuff. I'm not looking at the X-Plane stuff in this session, you guys. You know, this Twitch channel has been exclusively MSFS. The terrain level of detail set to 60, buildings are set to medium, and then you'll see all the stuff you're supposed to see, and they give you an example how to do that. And here's an area of contention for a lot of you, model matching. Model matching. Yeah, we'll see other aircraft around you. Now, in the pilot client settings, the default model is the Cessna Skyhawk G1000 Asobo. That is the default. They do this model matching so that while they're looking at you coming overhead, if they can't tell what you are, you're at least a Cessna 172 G1000 Asobo. And they might say, you know, Skyhawk, rock your wings. Black and white Skyhawk, that's you. Even though you might be flying something else because of your special livery. So now, in previous years, they said only fly these 4 aircraft. And people were upset about that. Now they're saying fly whatever you want. But if we can't figure it out, it's going to show up as a 172. So that's not so bad, you guys. At least it's a little better, a lot better than it was before. Follow the flight plan, check your radios, la la la. I mean, I'm going through it fast, you guys, because Thursday night I got to do this for real. I'll show you setting the radios and what I do. I always have my backup frequencies. I always have things ready to flip-flop. I try to stay ahead of the plane, and we'll do all of that. You can depart from the West Coast. This is the typical PilotEdge coverage area. That's all they cover, you guys. And you can learn everything about ATC from start to finish using their CAT ratings, their IFR ratings, if you want to go through those as a PilotEdge subscriber. And they also let you practice every scenario you could ever think of, going from airport to airport from here. You don't have to be in the world. You don't have to be at your home airport. They can't possibly put that many personnel in the sky and in the sim and pay them for that, these professional controllers. So this is perfectly fine. At first I was discouraged by this, and then I realized this is perfect, and I just love it. I've been doing this for years now. Now they are actually bringing their group, their controllers, over here to Wisconsin. Every time I go over a picture, it changes, doesn't it, my cursor? Right here around Lake Michigan in the middle here. I got to get a better pointer here. Right around here at Lake Michigan, Wisconsin, you see the Wisconsin tag there. That's where Oshkosh is, and their controllers are now working this area as a special event for our 4 days, Thursday evening, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All right, so 4 days live ATC over here. Now you could actually start out from anywhere in their coverage area, talk to controllers, and head off towards Oshkosh. That's your destination in your flight plan. You can do that, and some people are already doing that. There are some people already transitioning. I've tuned into PilotEdge to see, and they're going from some of these airports all the way across. Now they'll have silence here till they pick up the approach over here, the Fisk Approach over here in Wisconsin. But still, the point is that they're on their flight plan anyway, and then they get picked up in Wisconsin. That's so cool. And I know that our own moderator, Flockstrot, always starts out from his home airport over here somewhere. And he always brings a group with him to our landing challenge in Oshkosh. But this year we're not doing landing till August. He'll grab a group of his friends in his community, and he'll head out from over here and come all the way over to us and join us for the event. So you don't get flight following all the way. You just, as far as they cover anyway. All right, so now we're going to get into some transitions. Now I just want to scroll through here and show you a couple of, I knew I had some better pictures here. This is what I'm doing in my flight today, you guys. I'm starting right here at the Endeavour Bridge. Actually, I'm starting down here at Portage Municipal, if you guys have pulled that in. C47 is where I'm starting down here. I'm going straight north. I'm picking up this GPS coordinate right here at Endeavour Bridge, and that is what ATIS would tell us. Now I can't do ATIS tonight. There's no live ATIS. There's just the in-sim ATIS, which doesn't have a clue about the Fisk Approach. But in the live session Thursday, you listen to ATIS first, and wherever ATIS says we start from, that's where you start from. Now, the safe way to do it is to start from back at Endeavour Bridge and fly the approach. You will be on the right approach, even if it says we're all starting at Green Lake, because it's not that congested. You'll be on the way to Green Lake, so you'll be in line. All right, all you have to do there is just watch out for the others that are cutting in at Green Lake. So you can do that, but the typical rule is you listen to the ATIS, you hear where we are starting the transition. They'll start the transition at one of these three. All right, and so you would then start from there. You can't go ahead of it. You got to start back here wherever the ATIS says to start. All right, and sequence properly. They're watching on a map. Any public person can go to PilotEdge and watch on the map too and see who's there. We can all watch the PilotEdge map, everybody, and see this in action. Wait till you see this. It looks like a bunch of ants going up the railroad tracks. It's so cool. All right, so it'll broadcast the transition in use now and then, and you can see more details on each one. Well, I'm not going to go into all of that. You'll see it when I fly it. All right, now let's get down to inbound over Ripon. Now, everybody goes into Ripon first. Ripon is a town. We'll see a couple of silos. We'll see railroad tracks beside the silos, and we'll follow that. Now, some get confused because there's also a highway there. Look to see, in our sim, look to see where the cars and trucks are. That's the highway. I know it sounds obvious, you guys, but from the air, it's not that obvious. A lot of people are following the wrong track because the railroad track is over to the left here. Now, you can still be not exactly on top. I notice when I use the GPS waypoints, it doesn't fly me exactly over the railroad track, but it's the thinner one covered with a lot of trees all the way. All right, and so the default scenery has it all there, you guys. We flew it before. Now, the idea is to follow the railroad tracks, which also helps with noise abatement because railways make noise too, right? But so we're flying over there instead of over any built-up area. And we're coming through Pickett, and we're coming through, and then all the way to Fisk. And Fisk is where they make the decision to send you up the railroad track further to 27.9, or they'll send you over Fisk Avenue to 36, or whatever is the active runway there. So that's it. And they've got frequencies for each one. In all cases, you heard Andrew and I mention 1,800 feet at 90 knots. You can dial that into your autopilot and keep it going. All right, it's just in our GA planes we have to mind our throttle, that's for sure. But if you're in a faster plane that can't do 90 knots, you can do the 2300 and 135. If you can't do 135, you know, at 2300, then you got to go over to the warplane approach, right? So they give us lots of detail. I mean, it's just, there's no doubt about it. There's the railroad tracks, there's the silos on the left, and it makes sense that a railroad track would go beside silos, if you think about it, right? Over here is the actual highway coming into the town of Ripon. And so we are going to position ourselves as we come in here towards Ripon. We're going to find the silos as our VFR checkpoint. Over in the left, you'll see a water tower. And we'll just follow the railroad track from there, and away we go. All right. A small lake. Look at that. If you need a rest, if you got a float plane. All right. And then smokestacks at 3 miles from Fisk. I think there was a name. Is this, what was the name of that? Anyway, here's a farm with a pond. Okay, then. With a retention pond. And here we see, right here where those controllers are that are going to tell us to head out that way or head off that way. All right, there's the important part. All right, we see the picture. So cool. Now, if we do go the Fisk approach, there is right here where it's got the circle. You can't actually see it. They've overwritten it. There's a microwave tower that their scenery puts in here. And that's a good indication that you're on the right track. This is a perfectly east-west road. And so when you're following that, you are going east or west. East or west, let me think about it. North is that way. You're going east. And so there's the microwave tower over on the right side of your airplane. As you go by, you know you're on the proper Fisk approach until you get to the intersection up here. There is an actual airstrip right here called Plane Acres. Plane acres. So what do we got going here? Yeah, look at this in red. Don't follow the highway. You can follow the highway all the way into Osh, but it's the wrong way to go. They'll cut you off the network. No, they'll ask you to turn around and come back. But a lot of people will turn here at Fisk. They'll say, you know, right turn, hard right, go hard, harder. And they'll have you turn here and follow Fisk Avenue. Well, some people only turn partially and say, oh, there it is. And they'll follow the highway in. That's the wrong approach. You're going to mess up everybody. They're going to try and get you turned around. Or in the worst case scenario, they'll just take you off the network. I'm just assuming they will, you guys, because they have that kind of control. Fisk Avenue, you'll see the microwave tower down here, and that's your confirmation. That's good that they put that in there. All right. Now, in each case, you got to monitor a different controller, a different tower. The tower for the railroad track approach is 118.5, and the tower for the 36 Fisk Avenue approach is 1266, and we'll summarize that when we're finished here. And so you have to make that, you know, they make the decision for us. In fact, there it is, the Fisk approach control right there. There's the little parking lot there where they set up their tower. Can you see over here where my cursor is? They set up their tower right there. Is my head in the way? Nope. And that's where they put their trailer and their tent. And in our scenery, it shows the PilotEdge logo, and it shows the PilotEdge controllers are right there, hanging out, watching us come in with binoculars. That's so cool. And you know what? It gives us the feeling of Oshkosh, the Fisk approach bucket list. It gives us the feeling as close as possible, because we can't go, because we can't be there, because we might not be pilots, because whatever reason, we're not going to be there. And this gives us a feel what it's like when people, what was Fisk like? It was nuts, you know, and now we can actually have that same feeling. We are sick people. Ripon to Fix tells you everything, single file directly over the railroad tracks while maintaining, okay, you got to be a pilot. And so familiarize yourself with both transitions ahead of time and react accordingly. Best thing to do in the sim, you guys, is fly this thing without being on the PilotEdge network. Fly the sim. Even tonight, we'll be flying in multiplayer together. Just let's go without using PilotEdge, because they're not live right now till Thursday. We can all just fly it. Let's do it like we do in our challenge, right? It'll be lots of fun. It should be fun. All right, and they give you more details on each one about what to do. Now, the gravel pit's very important. On the transition here from the railroad track, the gravel pit is where the controller will see you and have you rock your wings again. All right, and from the gravel pit, you'll do a downwind to 27, or they'll be directing you into 09 from here. All right, that's important right here. The controller will tell you where you're going once you get here. All right, and if it's for 09, they're not going to tell you once you're over the pit, but you're heading for the gravel pit. You'll see it in the sim easily. Here's our Fisk Avenue eastward over to here and coming in on 36 left to right here. So it's nice that, you know, they make all these diagrams. They did all this work. They made all this scenery. This is, PilotEdge has outdone themselves on this thing. The holding patterns. Oh my gosh. So Rush Lake, this is the hardest one because Fisk is way up here. They'll send you over to Rush Lake. You got to go all the way back to Rush Lake, do a counterclockwise, and try to sequence yourself back in at a half mile behind somebody. What you're looking for is the gap that's a mile or more. That's hard to judge, isn't it? And then you're going to insert yourself in there at the right speed, at the right altitude. That takes some flying, you guys. And that's the challenge. This is what I love about this thing, is that even here in the sim, you got to use some skill here. And that's pretty cool. They might keep you at the holding pattern until things get, less congested. It might happen. You never know. This one here, Green Lake, was a normal one we're used to. We used to start here. This was the only starting point at one point. And we'd start here, do a counterclockwise, and then sequence ourselves in heading to Ripon. That was the normal way to do it. So we'd come in here higher than 1800, 2300 or higher. We'd come in here and descend around the lake, slow up and get our slow up. That's a good one. Slow down, slow up. Okay, we'll slow down. We'll slow down and we will get in line and then we will get into the sequence properly. Now there could be planes coming in from here. Could be planes coming in from here, from here. I mean, you can't see my cursor. Planes coming in from all sides of that holding pattern to join in. But if our starting point is further back, there should be no planes joining in here. This is only if you were told to hold. And it might tell us right on the frequency for Fisk Approach, it might say, all planes hold at Green Lake. We have high congestion. All planes hold at Green Lake, right? And so all of us would just keep doing this. That's going to get crazy if we do that too long, because as more people join us, it gets hairy, right? Clearing your holding patterns, how to do it, how to get back out. You guys should practice all of this offline. I mean, in the sim, without being in PilotEdge. You don't want to do this holding pattern the first time when they first tell you. It's like, what? Where am I going? Going to Puckaway Lake for your holding pattern. They're not going to tell you to go counterclockwise, 1800 feet, 90 knots. They're going to tell you all that stuff. You got to know it. Like all procedures, you got to know them. So you should try it. That's the challenge. This is why we do this stuff, you guys. It's a great challenge. Turbine Warbird arrival. This is what Andrew's going to try today, you guys. I'm going to say try because, he probably just tried it today for the first time. So he's going to give it a shot. He's coming right out of Fond du Lac or something south of that, right?
I'm paused coming into Fond du Lac right now.
So you're paused coming into here. And then he's going to fly over Lake Winnebago and find this Warbird Island. Now you can see by that flag. Sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
It doesn't show on your screen, but you actually have to be above 3,300 feet
to come over Fond du Lac, right?
Yeah, because that keeps you out of their temporary Class D airspace.
Yeah. Now, Fond du Lac is an uncontrolled airport, but they put a controller there for the 10 days. In real life, they put a controller there. So here in the sim, they put a controller there. And so we have to stay above this temporary control zone, and that's what Andrew has to do, stay above the control zone to come over it and descend down to head toward Warbird Island, which is an actual GPS checkpoint there too.
Yeah. You come in.
Hey, Zach, how you doing?
I've got it for 35. So you come in at 35 to Fond du Lac, turn north to head towards Warbird Island. And when you clear the 4-kilometer control zone, then you descend down to 2,800.
2,800 right here, you guys. You see that? And look at this, 250 knots or less. Yahoo! Let's go. You're going to get there real fast. Warbird Island is a real thing in our sim for sure. We can see it. It's very prominent. We can see it in there. And it's also got the GPS waypoint we can use. You could have a flight plan using a GPS waypoint. But at this point, just like our Fisk Approach, at this point, you may be directed to any runway, whatever's in ATIS right now. So this is where they start talking, and you're actually going to be talking to them in this one.
Actually, you're talking to Oshkosh Tower.
118 over here, right?
When you get to Fond du Lac.
Oh, back here.
You report yourself. Would be, Spitfire Alpha Juliet Sierra Fond du Lac, and they know there's a plane coming in at Fond du Lac.
Cool.
And then you call again when you get to Warbird.
Because you're fast. They got to know ahead of time. Seriously, guys, this is all true. There's a reason they have a Warbird arrival, because they just can't slow down.
and then you report again at Warbird. So it'd be Spitfire Alpha Juliet Sierra Warbird. And then if they don't tell you anything, you start circling. Everybody circles at Warbird at 2,800 feet and 150 or less.
Yeah, right there.
So you have to keep your eyeballs peeled, because anybody that's holding at Warbird is all at the same altitude.
And all the cautions are here. You can also request, this was cool, I was reading this just earlier before we started. We can request a 360 overhead brake, which a lot of Warbird pilots are comfortable with. That's how we approach airports. Brake altitude's 2,300. We actually covered this, you guys, in our F-18 sessions that we did. We talked about the brake to land. You know, Chunky helped us with that, and we practiced it later. And so that's a very real thing happening here too. Landing approach, and we get into arrivals and departures on separate ATC frequencies. So as I mentioned, I'm not reading every line. I'm not going to put you to sleep with a bedtime story, you guys. All my years of teaching, nobody wants somebody to read off the page. But I'm just showing you what's in here, how elaborate. Even this one for the simulator is so elaborate. I think it's 30 pages. And so in real life, this notice is probably more because there's more detail in there. But this is important. You have to read this whole thing, and you got to carry it with you in the plane. You got to have access to it in case you need to go there. You should know which, in real life, you should know which page for which section. All right. And when I went there, I actually tabbed my pages. I know it's kind of an anal thing, you guys, but I tabbed my pages so I knew what was happening. And the minute they said something, I just flipped to that tab and I could read it. No, that was paper back then, right? A lot of this stuff now I have on my iPad with my ForeFlight. I'm good. And I'll use ForeFlight throughout this thing. You can use ForeFlight in the sim too, as I've mentioned before, you guys. And that way you can see the other planes, and we'll talk about that. But anyway, you can see here the arrival on runway 9. This is the opposite of what we're used to. We're used to coming in on 27 over the gravel pit. But if you have to, the Warbird arrivals are going to be coming in the opposite direction and coming in on 9. If all of us from Fisk Avenue are sent up the railroad tracks, we'll be told to turn and land at 9, and we'll be given a colored dot. Now, you don't have to land precisely on the dot like our landing challenge, but you do have to aim for the dot and land in that area. Someone else is ahead of you aiming maybe for the green dot, and someone else could be ahead of you aiming for the orange dot. In the worst congestion, they can give us 3 different dots. I'm serious. That has got to be the most awesome sight to see. Because in real life, you cannot have 2 landing airplanes at the same time. Can't happen. This is why we would go around. This is why we would execute a missed, or whatever the reason. If there's another airplane, even on the runway, not over the hold short line, we cannot land a plane officially, legally. All right, this is why they tell us exit when able, as soon as possible. And when you exit, you go over the whole short line. A lot of you know that here in chat. You've been in the lessons with me, and you've had lessons in real life. So you got to get over that whole short line and clear that runway before they can let another set of wheels touch. All right, but here they've got special permission to let more than one airplane get into position to take off and to land. Now, they won't do that unless they have to, because it becomes closer to unsafe. All right, what if one of you aren't doing it right? What if you thought you were going to the green dot and so did the other guy? So you've got to be watching for that, and the controllers are watching for that too. If they get into that scenario, they're watching closely. But talk about cool and talk about organized. Wow, pretty neat. Do not fly in the shaded area. Not even the helicopters. Well, the helicopters come in here to pioneer and stop. They don't go any further. All right. Now, they do talk about the landing distances in this. I mean, they're so good with this notice, right? They talk about landing distances. I mean, if you're coming in with a Warbird that needs 4,000 feet, you're going to just make it if they give you the white dot. You know what I mean? I think that a lot of the Warbird flyers are very experienced. They can land almost in any runway. So here's our normal approach we did in our landing challenge. We did the normal 27 approach over the gravel pit. Rock your wings here over the gravel pit. Follow over the town. There's actually an east-west road. I think it's their main road in Oshkosh, the town of Oshkosh. And you just do a nice short base. You don't go over the water over here. Nice short base, and then into your dot. And you use your dot as your threshold. So as you're on downwind, you guys, you look over to see the dot you've been assigned. That's your landing zone. That's your threshold, I should say. And you're aiming for that dot to come in after that dot. That's what you're trying for. So a lot of us will come in here like this and go, man, those numbers look really close. There's no way I'm going to make them. Well, you're not landing on the numbers now. You're landing on the dot area. You might be given the white dot from way back here. You could even do your base here heading towards the number 27, or even do your base here heading towards the orange dot, because it's going to be a long final get down to the white dot. All right, so you judge it, and that's why you need to practice ahead of time, you guys, All right, now here's the interesting part. After landing, when speed permits, all aircraft, even jets and turboprops, are required to exit 27 to the right into the grass. So you're coming down on 27, you guys. This is important. I have to tell you this. We're coming down on 27 as soon as able. In other words, you can turn without tipping a wing. You turn onto the grass. Even the jets and the warplanes, I don't know, they better mow the grass and it better not be wet. And so
they don't in real life.
And so this is what we're doing. And we're going along here, we're going around here, and we're coming here, and we're coming up here to 36. Now, a lot of us might be right here camping. A lot of us might be down here camping. And that's where we'll park, and we'll be directed to the right direction. But all of us here in the sim will exit off onto the grass. And obviously, we're not going to get stuck. All right. That's the idea here in our notice. There will be dynamic flagmen as the system opens up. So Thursday evening when I do this live, there will be actual dynamic flagmen telling me where I should turn. All right, while I'm on the stream, while I'm under stress. We're going to have some of you join me too, right? Some of you are going to be on there too. All right, on 18, so here's, I'm not going through all the details, but here's the approach. We're doing a left hand, which is most common for most people, and you'll be given a dot. There we go again. There's your dots. All right, we have come across Fisk Avenue. You'll be told to rock your wings over the intersection here, and you're talking to the tower already, and they'll tell you one or the other. They'll give you 18 here. I don't know if they do have an 18 left. I'm not sure if they're using 18 left. I actually have never heard them use 18. I guess they do. It's marked. I know they've used 36 right. I've actually seen that in action, but all right, I'm sure they will. All right, 36 is the normal easy one because you're on Fisk Avenue, left turn and land, and you just judge your dot from there. Simple enough, you guys. You'll also notice here Warbird arrivals. If 36 is the active, then if the ATIS says 36 is the active, then they'll be turning here and joining up where they can see the oncoming traffic, and they'll sequence us in properly. If they know there's some Warbird arrivals, they will probably send a lot of this traffic up the railroad track over to 27. All right, I mean, they'll figure out what they need to do. All right. On this taxiway that's turned into a runway, now they have a red square and a green square. I thought those were red and a blue, but red and a green, and these are squares. So don't mix them up. When they tell you to land on the green square cleared for 36 right, you don't reply. You just rock your wings or keep going. And we have actually seen someone cross over. They were starting in this way. They realized it was a taxiway, and they actually turned over to 36 left and landed. It's like, no. So they gave you a green square. You notice there's no green over here on the runway. And there's no pink, yellow, or purple over here on the taxiway. So that's why you got to be familiar with this, you guys. There's only a red square, green square. When they say square, it's a taxiway. All right? And that's become a runway for now. They probably won't use it unless they're really congested. They give us distances to each dot. Lots of room, you guys, in our GA planes. Okay. If you're departing from Oshkosh, bear with me, you guys. We're just going through the last few things. You notice I'm skimming some pages. I'm not going through every detail. We just want to get the basics. If you're departing from Oshkosh, you can actually start at one of the normal parking spots like we do in our group flies, but make sure you're not starting on a runway. All right? That just throws everybody off, especially if you're using PilotEdge. You got to start on the parking spot.
Start on one way, they kick you out.
Sure, they're just like, you're out of there. And so right here, wish we had a button like that, when we have the saboteurs on our stream. Let's just, you're out of there. But, right here, the parking area, you guys, this is a big parking area. There's a big parking area. This is simulating the tents and planes that are all there. Eventually, they got to depart. All right, and you can see we'll start at one of these locations. Remember, when you start on the PilotEdge network, you've got to start up the client also. You've got to set all your frequencies properly on your radios. You've got to do a radio check to make sure that works, where you're actually talking from COM 1 to COM 2 and listening to it. And then once you're ready to go, then you dial in ground, tower, etc., whatever you're doing, right? Normal procedures. And then you're taking off on the active runway, whatever it happens to be. So there's all the normal, real procedures if you're leaving from Oshkosh, which is a challenge, and I'm going to do it. I just love it. This is what we do in real life, right? And so that's great that they're doing it like it is in real life, right? And they have specific procedures for departure. They also have specific frequencies for departure. Now, the interesting thing is if departure is on 36 right now, they'll tell you in here that, here's what we do for 36. But again, they don't want you talking on the radio. They don't want you calling for clearance to take off. They don't want you to talk to them at all because they don't have time for that. All right. They're busy with so many things. If they want to, they can ask you a question. They might even ask on your way in. There's nobody on either transition. Hey, do you want 27 or 36? They might ask. And then you do have to use your microphone. Sure. Tell them your preference. But here when you're taking off, you don't ask them for a clearance. As you're heading towards, on the taxiway, you're heading towards the threshold for 36. They see you coming. They will clear you before you get to the hold short, or you just automatically hold short. All right, they might tell you to hold short. Hey, red and white Cessna approaching 36, hold short. Or you just hold short automatically. You haven't been cleared for takeoff. If they see you coming down the taxiway, they'll probably clear you as you get closer, as long as there's no incoming traffic, and you just take off on the roll. Away you go. And you'll notice when we get to another map that the control tower is right around where it says the word these. The control tower is somewhere around there, and there's also a blue dot. You have to be in the air and turning away from there at a specific altitude. I think it's 1,300 feet, and you'll be heading south out to the right, and you have to be airborne and turn before that blue dot, before that tower. All right.
Take off from Osh on 36 is at or below 1,300 and on a heading of 150.
An actual heading, yeah. We just sort of went south, but I guess 150 now. So now it does give us this, this whole Class D airspace for Oshkosh. It gives us this beautiful, what I typically know as a VFR, arrival departure picture. And you can see here's the actual runways. There's 36, there's 27.9 right there. And you're showing us each of these areas. 36 left departure, runway 9 departure, runway 27 departure. Departing aircraft will remain clear of the Ripon to Fisk arrival. So we're staying away from the southwest corner down here. All the planes are coming in that way. If they're clearing us out that way, and they're telling us exactly how to do this. And so you got to keep this chart nearby. I mean, this is what makes this a challenge. This is what makes it so interesting, and what makes this so exciting. Is that I want to do this the way the real pilots do this. Someday I'll be there again in a real plane, and I'll be doing this, all of this. And it's going to be so exciting. But let's do it in the sim, and this is the benefit of the sim, you guys. And if we make mistakes in the sim, you haven't jeopardized somebody's safety. You haven't jeopardized your own safety. This is where you practice. When you get to the real thing, there's lots to think about, and the stress of it all. It really is. There's a lot of planes in the air, and you got to do it right. If you don't do it right, you could be jeopardizing somebody else. There's your 18 left departure too. So this is new for the simulator, you guys. They didn't have all of these departures. It was only runway 36 in the past. So, in the sim, we can control the wind. So 36 all the time. We just do our 36 and out of there. All right. And so you can see where we're heading. We're heading down toward the lake. Then we go south. Then we go all the way over to Green Lake or wherever the transition start is again. And we can come back in and do another one. You could do that all day. Helicopters. I mentioned that. I showed you a picture already. Pioneer Airport, the grass strip at the EAA headquarters and the Aviation Museum. The Seaplane Base. This is so cool. I'm sorry if I'm going so fast, you guys, but I'm not going through every detail. I'm not going to read you a bedtime story, all right? But we've got all the details here. If you're really interested in this, you can have this document if you become a subscriber, even if it's a free trial. I'm not here to sell it, you guys, but this is what we're using to get all this stuff. All right, and the free trials, there's no obligation. Now, the AirVenture Seaplane Base is cool. It's this protected little harbor in here, south of the airport. And as Super Typhon told us, it's about 3.7 miles southeast of the airport. Now from here, don't forget, there is still some warbirds flying over the lake right here to our right. And the seaplanes come in here too. We're just coming into that Class D airspace, you guys, so we got to have clearance. You can't go into a Class D airspace without talking to somebody. And so here, we're going to come in here, at least establish two-way communication, and we can do a circuit here and come into the Seaplane Base and plan our arrival properly. And there's already in the scenery, there's already a bunch of float planes in there, including a beaver. Oh, it was so cool. And there's when you see the credits at the end of this session tonight, you guys, you're going to see the beaver. I took some pictures at sunset of the beaver in the water. I love that plane. Anyway, so it's pretty cool. We'll have that sooner or later. Dynamic flagman. That's going to be cool. I can't wait to see them. For those who haven't learned this stuff in ground school or have never seen this on the fields, it's pretty simple. Turn left. There's an arrow going that way. Do not get close to this guy. Just turn left. All right. Here it's straight ahead. Keep going straight ahead. You're on a taxiway. Keep going on the taxiway. Here it's turn right. I'm saying it now because some of you have never studied this before. I could say this is obvious, you guys. It's a no-brainer. But then some of you are going, that's not a no-brainer for me, Howard. So, just keep that in mind. It could change too. This guy could all of a sudden make us go left onto the grass. Okay. It's dynamic. That's pretty cool. Moving map. Now, keep in mind you can use your VFR map that's built into the sim. You can use your MFD if you got G1000. You can use your iPhone or tablet if you've got ForeFlight. I don't know what other products you would use here, but there's got to be more. Oh, here's one here, AeroNav map. There you go. Avail from the Apple App Store. I haven't used that one. And then what else is there? The PilotEdge Live Map. Oh, yeah, that's the one I mentioned earlier today, you guys. The PilotEdge Live Map shows you everybody. And it shows you all the planes along the way. Is like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Wait till you see it, you guys. Let me just, wait till you see it. Why don't I just click this link and show you what that looks like? There's going to be some people here already. Not on Oshkosh because, oh, maybe, yeah, okay. They are connected, but there's no controller right now. That person is on the Oshkosh network, but there's no controller there yet. So this person here, November 8608, Patrick, 172, probably practicing, and he's practicing frequencies, but there's nobody to talk to yet. And you notice that if you click on them and find this information, you can also see those who are flying right now at this moment. All right, you're going to see a whole lot. This is going to be a long list when we get going over by where we are. Let me just come back here on the PilotEdge network over to where right now where all the active pilots are, which is way over here on the west coast. You see somebody on a long flight there. And here, mostly around the Los Angeles, San Diego area, you can see all the flights that are happening right now. Oh, it jumped to here because I got that guy focused. Okay. Wow. Let me just get back in here. There we go. So right now, that's all we've got going. And their big network extends from Seattle. Actually, it extends from Payne Field all the way down through this area. And there are two different subscriptions. One is for the whole West Coast and one is just the Los Angeles area. And there's plenty of people practicing this anytime they're open and working. Anyway, we'll be able to use this map later on because we can focus in on Oshkosh and see the whole line. There's Green Bay. You can see this whole line coming all the way up like this, like a bunch of ants, heading into Oshkosh, a bunch of Warbirds or a bunch of high-speed airplanes coming up this way. A couple of seaplanes will be here. And then you'll see a bunch of people departing down this way to the south. I mean, think about it, you guys. Traffic going north, traffic coming south, traffic coming northeast like this, and being assigned to different runways. I mean, holy moly, they made all this happen. And it's going to look cool. So even the PilotEdge map is, to me, is probably the go-to map that I'll use, just to see everybody there. I don't know if I'll hook up my iPad or not.
I get the impression that the InSim VFR map actually shows PilotEdge people.
They're actually saying that, which I'm surprised.
I don't know. I didn't log in last year, so I didn't get a chance to test whether or not everybody that's on the PilotEdge shows up on the InSim VFR.
I'm actually surprised, Andrew, because look at them all.
But that's what it sounds like it is.
Look at them all right here. How could they have all those in there? Normally, we don't see each other in there. Only on the world map. On the world map, we see the green ones. Yeah. But when we get into the sim, I don't think they're there. Hey, but let's try it. That's cool.
Yeah, but the world map, I think, shows our AI traffic. So maybe they're everybody's being injected into everybody else's sims as AI traffic. I don't know.
So that's it, you guys. We're going to summarize with an actual flight with a few of us. We're going to start with Dale because it's very late where he is, and maybe we should get him in soon. I wanted to put these up here. I do have a screen on my presentation of the of all of the acknowledgments that you see here, the same page you see here, people who made the scenery for each of the sims and people who worked on this, and certainly engage with PilotEdge on Discord, you guys, by all means. It is a good thing. I use it with my online students when we practice without using PilotEdge until we're comfortable talking in proper phraseology, and then we move into PilotEdge and start using live ATC for all our lessons when I do one-on-ones. And and this has proven to be a very good tool for those who are working towards doing real flying or becoming a private pilot at some point in their life. This gives them great interaction with real controllers, and you get comfortable. You get to the point where you get over your stage fright. You get over your mic fright, and you become more proficient at using the radio. And when you start doing it as a private pilot, even in your first lessons, you're already comfortable with it. And instructors will be amazed at, like, wow, you're not afraid of a microphone because you practice so much in PilotEdge or something like that. Now, some of you have also used other ones like VATSIM or the others, and certainly that any one of those will help you as long as the phraseology is correct and as long as it's interactive. These guys are paid to do this, and they are actually controllers. They are skilled and certified controllers that are being paid to be there those hours. Okay, so that's the notice. We did the walkthrough. We had an idea what that's all about. Here is the summary of all the frequencies to note, you guys. So this is in the presentation. Anybody wants this PDF, let me know. Come to Discord, send me a DM, and I'll send you the PDF, all right? I can't publish it. I can't sell it. I have copyright stuff in there from PilotEdge, so I can't do that. But this is a good summary because this is the kind of stuff you want nearby when you're doing the actual flight, where you're going from, where you're going to. Now, here's something I want to point out here. I'm not going to just recite all the frequencies, but here's something I want to point out here. The Seaplane Base, if you're putting it into your flight plan, is 96 whiskey information. And that's a Unicom at 1233. And you know, this in this simulator, in PilotEdge system, they want you to have your transponder off. Isn't that interesting? Your Mode C transponder, as we're coming into this Class D airspace, we're supposed to have a Mode C transponder, right? We put it to the alt position, all right? And this is interesting here in this event that they don't actually want us to have the transponder on when we come up close to that Class D airspace. Pretty interesting. And I could actually ask them about that. I guess it will interfere with their flow of traffic. I don't know.
Well, actually, seaplanes, they don't want you flying within the Class D. They want you on the water before you break the circle.
Before you break the circle, okay. You got to stay
close. So you don't need to have the transponder because you're on the ground when you get into their control area.
Some will venture in there. Some will venture in there. Fond du Lac Airport, where a lot of people start out. You got an ATIS, you got a tower, you got a ground. Yep. And then away you go. Flight planning, you guys. This is the last couple of pages, and then we go do the flight, you guys. And let's have some fun with it. The airports, here's all of the names of the airports that might be involved. I'm starting from C47, Charlie 47 Airport, which is Portage Municipal near the town of Portage. Plain Acres near Fisk. Williams Field on the way to Fisk. The Seaplane Base, Pioneer Airport for the helicopters. And, of course, Oshkosh. Here's some of the GPS fixes I've used in my flight plan along the way. Warbird Island, where Andrew's going to fly over. Fisk Approach. Now, you could just put those right in. I'll show you mine, and then I'll show you my flight plan on my screen. And then as I'm spawning in, we'll go look at Dale, and then we'll go look at Andrew, and we'll see how they're doing. Are you ready to do that, Dale? Are you okay with that? I didn't even ask, but I see you're there somewhere. I think you're at the helipad. Okay. 90% of the mic fear is the fear of not knowing what to say. Yep. You're right, Jeff. Yeah, Jeff knows. He's a flyer too. Practice overcomes that. And it's good to have practice with an instructor with you so that off mic they can say what you should have said or what you forgot, or they can help you to understand how to get better at it. All right. Instead of humming and hawing, they'll help you with that. They'll try it first. Now, you guys, Zach is in chat right now. Zach's a CFII. When I heard him on the radio, I'm in the back seat. Jane's in the front seat in the pilot seat. Zach's in the right seat in the instructor seat. I'm in the back. I got the headset on. When Zach gets on the mic, it was like, you talk about auctioneer, you guys were talking about auctioneer earlier. Zach was just like, boom, done. It's like, what did he just say? Both Jane and I look at each other and go, wow, that was fast. And you know what? The controllers knew what he was saying. The controllers replied. Everything was good. And then after a while, we started to get used to it. We were picking out what's happening there. But boy, does it come out fast. Yeah. So that could happen here. But the controllers know that some of us are not everyday flyers. They're probably going to make sure that you understand what needs to be done. The simple thing is we come over our checkpoint and they tell us to rock our wings. We're going to hear rock our wings. Now, the funny thing is I've actually seen two different planes rocking their wings, right? It's like, uh-oh. They could both be, Skyhawk, black and white. It could be, right? Here's my flight. This is what I'm going to do. Let's do it. All right, I'm starting from here and I'm going to take off. I'm going to take off and get to this waypoint and be on my way by the time I come back to my screen. All right, that's what's going to happen while Dale is showing you his entrance with the helicopter arrival. And then we'll go to Andrew's screen and show his entrance with the Warbird arrival. And these guys probably only did it once today, and now they're doing it a second time, you guys. So don't be critical. We're going to try it. That's what this sim is for. And and if you want this same flight plan that I'm using right now, by all means, go grab it. ! Flight plan, away you go. You can see up here, starting at Portage Muni, here's our GPS waypoints. And use those as guidance. They just keep us on track. You can use altitude hold to keep you at proper altitude. And now man your throttle. Man your throttle to get down to 90 knots and get stable before you get along the way.
Start to slow the speed up and then do your descent. Towers 118.5 for you. Brown Skyhawk that just turned eastbound. Towers at 126.2 6, don't forget 1800 till turning the downwind. Everybody's a half-mile trailing spacing up the tracks to the town of Fisk, where we will pick you up by color and type within a half mile.